Welcome to the Back to Me podcast, where we help multicultural incoming freshman women and men manage their entire college experience throughout post-graduation to successfully transition into entrepreneurship and corporate workspaces as new hires.
Back to me. Oh, I turned it around. I'm back to me. I finally figured it out. I'm back to me. So when you think you have nothing, back to me. I go back to me. Yeah, I'm back to me.
Hello, everyone. It's your host, Yoli Tamu. In today's episode, we continue to honor Women's History Month and invite back holistic healer and Reiki master, Linda Penny. While many have politicized what it means to be woke, find out why it is so important to be aware of who you are and who you want to be. In her new book, The Fast Track to Waking Up, Linda discusses ways to raise your consciousness through sound frequency, forgiveness, and the healthy emotion of gratitude. Enjoy. Wow. I'm so excited to invite back one of our favorite guests. Really, she's a friend of mine, and it's Women's History Month, and I thought of no one else to celebrate for what she has done in my life and how the holistic lifestyle has really just transformed the way I think, the way I breathe, the way I move. And I know that you guys will be blessed and benefit so much from hearing from her. She's written a book, and I'm so excited to talk to her. Miss Linda Penny, how you doing?
Oh, hi, Yoli. I'm doing fabulous, thank you. And it's so lovely to be back. I'm very honored to be back on your wonderful podcast. And yes, I have just written a book, The Fast Track to Waking Up, which I'd love to tell you about.
Yes. So before we get into it, remind our listeners about your work and what you do that makes you so great.
Okay, well, I've been working as a holistic healer for about 35 years now. I started off with crystal healing, went to Reiki, tried this, and then I finally got to kinesiology and realized how amazing the body is, learned how to communicate with the body, and understood really deeply how we're all connected through energy, that everything is energy. And from there, I moved about 10 years ago, maybe a little longer, into working with sound. So sound healing to me is amazing. And there was this wonderful guy called Edgar Casey, you may have heard of him, and he said many years ago that the future of medicine is sound, and it couldn't be further from the truth. So we're now in that future, and you're probably hearing about sound baths and bowls and tuning forks and all kinds of sound treatments which balance the body and the mind and the soul. So I've moved into a lot more of that now, but I kind of mixing everything. I see clients online all around the world, and I teach. So I very much like to empower people to know how to take care of themselves. And that really is my main thing to do, is to help people to be able to take care of themselves.
Mm-hmm. And I know that you're a master Reiki teacher. You taught me level 1 of Reiki. Can you tell our listeners about Reiki as well?
Well, Reiki is the universal life energy. It surrounds all of us all the time. And we don't realize that we can be connected to it until we start looking at Reiki and studying Reiki. And it actually is the most amazing tool to have, because you don't need anything other than your hands, because the energy comes through your hands, the healing energy, and you can heal yourself and you can heal others. So it's a really amazing thing. It works on the mind, the body, and the spirit, and it helps to clear some of the old patterns that you have, and it raises your frequency. So I'm very much into raising your frequency, because we all have a frequency. Everything does. Even the computer has a frequency. The chair I'm sitting on has a frequency. Everything has a vibration, which equals a frequency. And so by using Reiki, what you're doing is you're clearing the old lower levels of frequency, and you're raising your energy up. And so with that comes wonderful new things. You attract into your life people, places, and things that are a higher vibration, much more suited to where you want to be in life.
That's excellent. That's so good. And that's what my experience was with Reiki, that I'm really in tune with myself. And I just walk in the world a little differently, and you do attract what you are at that moment. You attract it to you. I've experienced that.
Yeah, we are. And light does attract light. So, it's important to be at a certain frequency, at a certain level of awareness, and wake up to the fact that You need to be yourself. Don't be anybody else. Be yourself. Be authentic. And don't be frightened to be authentic. And find out who you really are by spending time with yourself. Deepak Chopra, who people may have heard of, said that awakening is not changing who you are, but discarding who you're not.
Wow.
That's a good statement.
Weeding out, discarding who you are not. I love that.
Yeah. So, we've been so programmed by society and schools and doctors and goodness knows, all kinds of situations, society in general, really. By the time we come out of school, we've been in a sort of protected environment. We need to come out and find out, okay, so who am I and what do I want to create in my life? Who do I want to be? Who am I? That's really the bottom line. Being aware helps you to have a deeper understanding of what is important in life and what's not important in life. So you need to sort of discern about this isn't important, but this is important. So you are important. You're probably the most important person. And when I see a client, I'll often say to them, okay, make a little list of the 3 most important people in your life. And they'll go, well, my mom, my dad, my sister. And I go, well, where are you on the list? You're not on it. You're supposed to be number 1, because when you take really good care of yourself, you have a lot more energy to give to others.
So good. So good. And when you mentioned sound healing is becoming more popular, for a young listener in a dorm or an apartment or a bedroom, do you think they should invest in a sound bowl or something, some other item?
No, I think at this point you can do it on YouTube, because a sound bowl is very expensive and quite noisy. And if you're in an apartment, it might be difficult to use it. You may want to get to that point, but to start with, there's some wonderful frequency musics on YouTube, like the 528 hertz. On YouTube, if you put that in, 528 hertz video, that's the frequency for miracles and repairing DNA. So playing that in the background opens up your heart and just lifts you.
Wow.
And there's many other frequencies that you can get online on YouTube that are frequency music.
And that can happen any time of the day, in the morning or the evening when you're relaxing.
But start with the 528, because it really is the most wonderful one to start with, because that's where we want to come from now. We want to come from our heart and not from our head. We're at a time in our lives now where we're moving away from what we think to what we feel. And the throat is the bridge between the mind and the heart. So by opening up your heart, you start realizing who you are and how you really feel about everything, how you feel about life, how you feel about yourself and your friends, your family, your situation. And you can make choices, and you start realizing that everything's about choice, everything.
Yes.
You can choose to be happy or you can choose to be miserable.
That's so good you're saying this, because as you know, the young people, and I'm sure adults, but we're hearing the most about teen suicide and depression. And like you said, life is a choice. You don't have to choose a negative path. You can choose a positive path. But if they don't have examples or people like yourself to figure that part out, it's good to just hear, like you're saying, just the affirmation of how important you are. Just start there.
Well, that's why this little book has been written. And it's just a short little book, but it's basically full of tips and tools about how to express yourself with a healthy emotion. And also I do a little chapter on gratitude. It's really important to be grateful. And I mentioned in the book that I was not grateful at a point in my life. And it was a friend of mine who pointed out, you need to look at the things that are good in your life, not constantly moaning about the things you don't have or the things that you don't think are good. And I started realizing I'm really grateful for my eyesight. I'm really grateful for my legs so I can walk. I'm really grateful for my house that I have to live in. I'm really grateful for the food in my fridge. I'm really grateful. And you start realizing, my gosh, there's an awful lot to be grateful for. Even if you think you have very little, there's still a lot to be grateful for. And the more that you become grateful, the more you attract into your life, because that's a wonderful frequency. Gratefulness is a wonderful thing. So I suggest that people get a really nice little journal, one that they really like, a pretty cover, and every morning just write 5 or 6 or 7 or however many you want gratefuls. Start off with 5. I'm grateful for my pillow because it's so comfortable. I'm grateful I don't have to get up this morning because it's Sunday. Whatever it happens to be. But find 5 things every morning to be grateful for, and you will be starting your day in a really great state of mind.
I love this so much. And yes, so the title of the book is The Fast Track to Waking Up. And, we're living in a time where woke is these popular phrases, but that's not what you're talking about. You're not being political about being woke. But I think its original intention, what we were saying, before we got on camera, its original intention, was to be conscious of who you are in a racial dynamic or a system, if you will, in our country, to be conscious of who you really are. And what you're talking about is taking that even deeper with the fast track to waking up. Right.
Yeah. And also to remember that all these restraints that are put on people, all these categories, they don't really exist. People have just put labels on people. Everyone's the same. We're all people. We're all part of God. We're just humans. And we need to stick together, and we need to understand that and respect each other. And because society is dividing us constantly by giving us all these awful, horrible labels, we get very confused about where we belong. We belong in our hearts, and we belong with God, and we belong with anybody that's around us that we like. It doesn't matter whether tall or short or green or pink, or it doesn't really matter. What matters is you find the people that you're attracted to by the frequency that you have. And we'll go back to frequency yet again. And the other thing I'd like to mention is forgiveness. I think this is a really, really big one. I think everybody needs to learn about forgiveness because it's so powerful. A lot of people, myself included, had a background that wasn't good. And I could have easily blamed my parents, teachers, anybody, the government, of all the terrible things that were happening to me in my life or things that weren't going right, and blaming people. But to be quite honest, when you don't forgive somebody, they've forgotten about it. You're the one that's holding on to the pain. So by forgiving them, you don't have to forget, but by forgiving them, you release yourself. And then you have more energy. Then you have more life in you and more light, because we're made of light. So by using forgiveness, especially forgiving yourself, so forgiving other people, and I do a whole section in the book on forgiveness and giving you tools on how to deal with forgiveness.
So let's go into that one. That's a great point that you brought up, forgiving yourself. So do you have a process of sorts, or maybe you can give us a couple takeaways in the book on forgiveness?
Yeah. So forgiveness is a commitment to a process of change. And as we know, change can be difficult and can take time. And we all move towards forgiveness a little differently. So some of us, I'm never going to forgive them. They were really mean to me. But you have to kind of move past that and realize the first step is to recognize the value of forgiveness, and it's important in our lives. And then you need to reflect on the facts of the situation and how we reacted to it, and how this combination has affected your life and your health and your well-being. And then when we're ready, we can actively choose to forgive the one who's offended us. And in this way, we move from the role as a victim and release control and power that the offending person had on our lives. You're letting go is what you're doing. You're letting go of the pain of not forgetting them. Forgiveness also means that we change old patterns of beliefs, because we believe those people did this, that, and the other to us. But actually, you know what? Who knows where they came from?
Right.
And also, you're the one that's hanging on to it. So, forgiveness takes away the power the other person continues to hold over you. That's what's important. So an idea that I used when I needed to learn about forgiveness was I had to accept the fact that, like everyone else, I'm not perfect. And I had to accept, despite my faults and my mistakes, I had to be completely honest with myself and commit to treating others with compassion, empathy, and respect.
It's giving grace as well, huh?
Yeah. So I wrote a letter, to myself for anything I feel I needed to be forgiven for. No one else will ever see the letter, so you don't hold back. And you say everything you need to say, and you forgive yourself. And then you do the same for anybody else in your life that's you're holding a grudge with, and you forgive them. And as you start forgiving people, your energy shifts. You start changing. You start feeling lighter. You start seeing things from a different perspective. It's incredibly powerful.
Yeah. And that's what our body really wants to feel, don't you think? That's where our body really wants to be.
Yeah. And then I also use affirmations, which are in the book as well, because I use affirmations as medicine, because they're words and words have power. So some suggestions are: I forgive all people who have wronged me, both real and perceived. I release all anger, which allows me to forgive, because sometimes you can just be angry with somebody. You can't let that go. I know these aren't always easy, but if you start doing these little tips and you start doing these techniques to get rid of your feelings towards people that have been unkind to you or hurt you, you're letting go of all of that part of your life so that you can move forward. with grace, as you said, very good word to use, with grace, and then you can start changing your life and choosing to be happier and choosing to not be a victim. Because when you're not forgiving people, you are the victim.
So how do you deal when you've done that, you've gone through that process, and they violate you again?
Well, you choose not to be around those people. You choose different people to hang out with.
Yeah, you got to make some moves.
You have to move forward. You don't keep the same people in your life all your life. As you evolve, you find new people who are also evolving. And by using forgiveness, you're definitely going to evolve. You're going to evolve to a much higher level because you're coming from a place from your heart and you're coming from a place of grace.
Because in this generation of young people, you know, they're a little more vocal. I mean, I'm sure all generations were vocal and we have that history, but they're really vocal in this generation and they're in touch with their feelings more, I should say. And sometimes when you're dealing with family situations or even friends, you know, people you can't get away from, they have to put this into practice somehow.
Well, what they do is they write a letter to whoever it is that they feel they need to forgive, you know, and then write everything you want to say to that person, and then you burn it. You don't keep these letters, you burn them. You put them out into the ethers, you let go. You let go. And you know what? If someone's upsetting you, just say, you know what? I really don't want to talk to you right now because you're upsetting me. You don't have to shout, you don't have to scream, you don't have to do anything. You just choose to be calm and just ignore it. You have to grow above that level. You have to grow above that. And you'll find that the more you ignore it and the more you don't allow it to affect you, the more it will dissipate.
I think that's it, what you just said. You have to ignore, find a way to ignore it, especially if you can't remove yourself from it.
Yeah, absolutely, Yoda. You know about that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We've all been there. We've all been there.
Okay, wow. I'm so glad that you wrote your book. Wow. We've been talking about this and look at you. You have finished this book, The Fast Track to Waking Up.
Yeah, it took a long time to do it, but it's worth it because I think it's going to help an awful lot of people.
Absolutely. I mean, today, just, you know, this forgiveness process is everything. I think it's everything, what you're saying.
And then the thing that comes along with that, Yoli, is to take responsibility for yourself.
Yeah.
You know, you really have to start taking responsibility for yourself. You can't blame and whinge and whine about other people. You'll just get more of the same because like attracts like. So if you're whinging and whining and moaning, you're going to get more whinging and whining and moaning. But if you're happy and jolly and laughing and having fun, you'll get more of that. In fact, the last chapter in the book is called Laugh a Lot. You know, you need to laugh. Don't take yourself so seriously. You know, life is fun. It can be. It's pretty amazing out there, you know, when you realize that you create your own reality. Because, you know, if you look at a certain reality, like I never watch the news, I don't have a television, I don't want to buy into all that stuff, because in my reality, everything's pretty nice. I know there's things going on in the world that I'm aware of, and I understand it's a difficult time, but you still need to keep your energy up, you need to keep your faith, and you need to take care of your vehicle, which is your physical body. So you need to take care of that. You need to eat well. You need to exercise. You need to meditate maybe, or pray, or belong to some kind of little group where you can all talk to each other about what's going on in your lives and you feel connected. But you need to take care of yourself, take responsibility. Don't just sit around saying, well, it's somebody else's fault that I feel like this, or it's because of the government, or because of the, you know, whatever. You kind of have to really take responsibility. It's very important as you grow up.
That's powerful. Take the responsibility. So I was going to ask you about our final words of encouragement, and I think you're giving it to us. Take responsibility.
Okay, I'll give you one more, which is watch your words. Everything you say has a direct effect on your energy level and on your DNA. Your DNA can be changed by the thoughts and the words that you express. So really watch your words. You know, be kind. Every cell in your body is listening to everything that you say. All your cells have innate intelligence. And it's been proven that each cell is a thinking cell. So when you're saying things to the body like, I don't feel great, I'm pissed off, I'm angry, that message goes to every cell saying, okay, she's pissed off, she's angry, she doesn't feel good, and they'll give you what you want. But if you tell the body, I feel pretty good today, I'm going to have a fantastic day and I'm really happy to be alive, that message goes to the cells and they puff up and they go, oh, apparently she's really happy and she wants to have a fabulous day. Let's give her that. So you have to be prepared to understand that your words are really, really powerful.
So good. Thank you for that example. Woo! I felt something with you. Okay. It's powerful. Well, I am so grateful to have you and to celebrate you in this Women's History Month because you are amazing. You're a powerful woman, and everybody needs to get this book. I'm so excited for you. And I just want to know where they can maybe reach you online. Where would you like to send everyone? To a website? Or
Well, first of all, I just want to thank you, Yoli, because I have the highest regard for you. I think you're doing an amazing job in the world. It's fantastic what you're doing. I honor you. I have a website, which is lindapenny.com. Linda with an I, lindapenny.com. And my email is linda.penny@gmail.com. And my book's available on Amazon. But I've written it by Anara. So it's written by Anara, which is my spiritual name. So it says on Amazon, Linda Anara Penny, which is quite funny that they put that on there, but they did. So if you're looking for it, it's The Fast Track to Waking Up by Anara. Anara was a name that was given to me many years ago at the Harmonic Convergence, and it was my spiritual name. I got it in a meditation, and I haven't used it before, but I was guided to use it for this book.
Okay, great.
And I explained that in the back of the book.
Okay.
Who is Anara? There's a whole little bit at the back. Who is Anara?
Right. Get the book and find out. I love it. Okay. Well, Linda, thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to talking to you more and just seeing you continue to grow in your classes. And I wish you all the success with your book. I wish you the best.
Thank you, Yoli. And lots of love to you.
Thank you. All right. You take care. We'll talk soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us. May you continue to wake up with gratefulness in your heart and forgiveness in your soul. For more information about other episodes, remember to subscribe to the Back to Me podcast, College and Beyond. I'm your host, Yoli Tamu. Leave a review at the end of this podcast, and if you would like to learn more about our book club and other special events, join the Back to Me podcast Facebook group, or simply text Back to Me to 833-206-4565. Until next time, be well. Back to me. Oh, to